Yeah, so decided to speak on something a little bit different this year. It was a good year for me, but I heard a lot of people being worried about some things, and I thought I share my experience with this. Um, and so I decided in this year I talk about burnout. Because I see that, for especially the people involved in our community and the folks doing work uh, on the volunteering side of things, like include etc. and lots of others might have issues with that. So maybe you feel like that there is something missing on one of those pictures. One of the butterflies is missing the tails. It's actually kind of the function of those tails and the eyes in the back that the bird gets a free pick and the butterfly survives. But also maybe you feel a bit broken or a hangover. If you've been here too much on the bar and the upper floor, that's fine. But if it's like in your normal day life too often, maybe you should get thinking about if that is an issue to you. Maybe your heads are underwater too much. Maybe you're missing a little bit of the balance in your life which you once had or which you would like to have again. Or maybe you would like to feel like a fish in the water again, or just would like to feel like that. So that's all kind of a little bit of signs for burnout. And as I said, I would like to share my own experiences. So I just want to make clear, I'm not a medical professional. And if you're affected by burnout or if you're in danger, please seek professional help. But I'd like to share my experience and my strategies and kind of, what do I do? Because for a conference organizer, it's an issue that you burn out organizing the conferences. But my problem actually is a different situation, okay? So it's more like this. You burn out, you recover, you burn out, you recover. And after a few years, you start recognizing this, and I gave it a name, Phoenix Cycle. Like, you rise again from your own ashes, and then you burn up again. And you do that because you see a purpose in that. And I think that this is very common for people working and volunteering in organizations and trying to do something good. And so I've been doing lots of research and experiments and changing things in my life to break this. And I think this year I got a little bit closer. So one of the first things I tried is sleeping. That's great. You should always make sure you have enough sleep. But after the conference, there's some time where I can take off. Sleeping too much doesn't help either. If sleeping 50% more doesn't make you recover 50% faster. Sometimes your body will take what it needs as sleep. That's fine, and you need to have enough sleep. But you also should do other things to recover. Sleeping alone is good, and it's a good quality for your life. But the other thing I do for quite some time now is that after the conference time I go hiking, just to be in nature, because I always like nature, and it's one of my passions. But then something changed last year, and I actually was just in front of the conference, and then during the conference I happened to have a camera again, which now actually is digital cameras. For a long time I didn't want to invest in that, and now I invested in even in a good lens in spring, when I was kind of sure that I was trying to combine hiking with photography. And this then looks like this. This is one of the first mornings where I went out after the conference. This is the 23rd November of last year, and the sun is just coming up, as you see. It's very cold, and there's a place where I used to go, or where I often go for photography, and that was the first place where I usually went. And then this morning sometimes photography can be kind of sometimes not always like exciting. You are there and nothing else is there, and you kind of question, why are you there? And you see like all the animals and they're all sleeping, and you're saying, well, maybe I should have tried that with sleeping this morning, because getting up early and getting to those places really early, you have to get up even earlier. But then I noticed some movement, because back in, if you continue this way, you find a place where a lot of reeds is and a pond. And then this pond actually is frozen, and I see movement and I see deer and take this picture. And yeah, this is kind of, suddenly your whole experience changes, and you're quite happy to be out there and enjoy nature. And so I decided to not only to invest in hiking, I see it as part of my job to do that after the conference, because I need to take care that I recover from that, and I recover in a certain timeline that I can take care of the next conference and don't burn out over time. That's really important to do for self-care reasons. And so I decided that just when the weather is good, I can, if I don't have to do too much, just go out and do photos. And when the weather is bad, I am very motivated now to work, because if the sun is shining, I might want to go out and have a hike. The lens I bought together with the camera weighs 2.8 kilos, so it's quite heavy. And if you take pictures with it in freehand, I don't have a tripod with me when I go hiking, because a tripod would add too much weight. And so some of these images are now taken with the new lens. And in the first weeks, it was exciting to have that new lens in February. Those pictures are from February, like this one too. But it really put a strain on me, and really made me grow in fitness terms. So it's actually, it's kind of also became my gym. So I kind of got rid of my gym subscription, one of them. I have another gym where I go each week for half an hour, and that is a fixed appointment. And I have a personal trainer which does things and there with me for half an hour, and that's fine. It's much better than what I had before. And the other training I used to get, the cardio, etc., I used to get at the fitness center. I now go in nature for. This is another picture by the fish I showed you earlier. That's from C++ Now in the Rockies in Colorado. That's another picture from there. But I didn't want to add more pictures from Colorado, because there's already a bunch of pictures in this talk. But if you want to combine a C++ conference with photography, go to C++ Now. And yes, so in the early days, I kind of often tried myself in shooting flying birds, because you can really get some nice pictures out of that. But it's also really difficult, and you kind of have the problem that the birds fly really fast, and you got to be ready on the right point. And on the other hand, after a while, I figured out that if I wanted to go farther, I probably would have to find out where benches are, and then I set up benches. And then I kind of figured out that once you're just calmly sitting down there, you have time to think, and suddenly you see things like this and take a good picture and just have a good time. And so I discovered like one passion, and so I went hiking, took pictures, and I think it has really helped me to not only to heal the burnout from last year, but also to have a higher level to burn out on. So I can answer you the question if I'm burned out or not this year as much as I was last year. I always see this after the conference. It takes like 2 to 3 weeks to really know what the full effect, the payment on my body and on other things on my mind is to have this week. But I think from what I feel right now, I feel a lot better. But there's something else. Summer came, and I just able to really go hiking. And when I bought the lens, they have this marketing ploy. They are saying, actually you can do macro photography with it because it takes like the lens has a minimum focus of 2.2 meters, and it's a 600 millimeter lens, so you have a good zoom, and you're supposed to shoot macro with that. I was kind of surprised that it actually works. And so this is my other big passion from the past, is butterflies. So I kind of found out during summer that butterflies are kind of my Pokemon, and I go out, and it's my Pokemon Go. I only need a camera. I don't need a mobile phone, and it's kind of exciting to see. But, you know, I spoke about extinction before it was cool, and it is still something I care about. So I started to make a list, and after basically the butterflies disappeared again because you know it gets cold in October, I made a list on my private Twitter account to post every butterfly I've seen. And it's I think 24 species or 28 species in total. And for example, this is another butterfly which commonly flies in our region if you know the right place. And most people probably have never seen it. And there's a bunch of more pictures I actually can't show you about that. Ah, yeah, right. So this is the same butterfly but with open wings. And I always try to get it with open wings, and I never could get a good picture. You get some picture where it's open, but it's not satisfying. You want to have a good picture. And then suddenly I go to this new place and happen to see them flying around just by chance. Take this picture where this is, I think, one of the best pictures I took in this year. But also I've been like looking through images, and finding images for this talk was really hard because there's so much other pictures which are great. And after all, this should be a lightning talk and not like a full of. This is another great picture I took, and often it's just by chance. But then there's those real shots which sometimes you don't even realize. For example, I got home and was looking at this picture because I noticed in the field it's like 2 butterflies. And I have a question: who of you sees 2 animals in this picture? Raise your hand. Who of you sees 3? So there's the butterfly, and I hope you see the other butterfly in the back, but in between is a spider who's having their arms welcoming open to give any butterfly a hug or anything which lands there. And then there's just these other great pictures you take, which are like incredibly lucky. I was like really looking forward to see this on the list here. Wow. Shooting hawks is if you're enough out in nature and you know kind of, so if you're into photography, shoot in manual mode, have a good set of values to make sure that you can shoot fast. So this is a time of 1,250th of a second, and then you actually get them sharp. Otherwise they're too fast and you kind of get those effects of movement in the picture. And yeah, so like when I went out like for the first time to take pictures, I saw deer, and it took like almost half a year to see deer again, and then that was by accident. It's like I turn around, like, is that a deer? That's not that picture, but this is a picture. Then like 2 weeks later, I was by chance running into deer, and I also was set up to shoot fast-moving things because I wanted to try to shoot butterflies in the flight, and so I was happily being like really lucky to shoot this. Otherwise, they would have been just running through, and I wouldn't have the camera in the right mode, which is also frustrating. And this brings me back to balance and self-care, So I think it helped me really recover, but it also helped me kind of to reconnect and to see with community. So I'm planning to attend a conference on butterflies and insects next week in Düsseldorf. But also kind of, if you're like too deep in one thing, maybe also try to find other things which give, again, value to your life. And The other thing I really want to point out is self-care is really, really important, and it's something you have to invest in. After all, that is, this game is final. It's just one run through. You don't have multiple lives. And the other thing, I wanted to have a slide for food, but I only have a great image of a falcon tearing away a mouse, and I thought I'd not bring that. But food is another great and important thing where you should watch out, and where you can really, really help yourself in being more comfortable while traveling, and also having the right micronutrients that you actually are able to recover and have the things that are needed to run your body. And with that, I want to remind you that you might want to find your balance. If you're missing something, invest in yourself and make sure that you don't burn out.